Imagine standing on a bustling Tokyo street in the early 20th century, the air thick with the savory aroma of pork broth and sizzling woks. Amid the chatter of vendors and the clatter of wooden carts, a humble bowl of noodles is about to change the world. This is the story of ramen shops. Born from Chinese immigrants' ingenuity, shaped by Japan's turbulent history, and transformed into a global cultural icon. How did a simple noodle dish become a symbol of resilience, creativity, and community? Grab a seat and let's dive into the steaming, soul-warming history of ramen shops, where every slurp tells a story of cultural fusion and human spirit. Welcome, foodies, history buffs, and culture enthusiasts, to a deep dive into the creation and evolution of ramen shops. A tale of noodles, ambition, and the heartbeat of Japan's urban life. From their origins in Chinese immigrant communities to their rise as a cornerstone of Japanese identity, ramen shops are more than places to eat. They're cultural landmarks that reflect Japan's triumphs, struggles, and relentless innovation. In this journey, we'll explore how ramen shops emerged, how they adapted to Japan's changing landscape, and why they continue to captivate the world. Expect fascinating facts, a dash of humor, and a story as rich as a tonkotsu broth. Let's get slurping. The story of ramen shops begins not in Japan, but in China, with a dish called ramen, hand-pulled wheat noodles that date back centuries. These noodles, made with a special alkaline solution called kansui, had a chewy texture and vibrant yellow hue that set them apart. In the late 19th century, Japan's Meiji Restoration flung open the doors to foreign trade, ending centuries of isolation. Chinese immigrants, particularly from the Pearl River Delta and Taiwan, arrived in port cities like Yokohama, bringing their culinary traditions. By the 1880s, Yokohama's Chinatown was buzzing with noodle stalls serving Nankin soba, a nod to Nanjing, China, and a precursor to modern ramen. These early dishes, often simple wheat noodles and clear broth with shredded meat, were a taste of home for immigrants and a curiosity for Japanese locals. Here's a fun fact to hook you. One of the earliest recorded ramen dishes in Japan was served to a Chinese ambassador in 1859, but it was so pricey that only the elite could afford it. It wasn't until the early 20th century that ramen became a meal for the masses, thanks to one pivotal moment: the opening of Japan's first dedicated ramen shop, Rairaiken, in Tokyo's Asakusa district in 1910. Founded by Kenichi Ozaki, a retired customs official, Rairaiken was a game-changer. Ozaki hired 12 Cantonese chefs from Yokohama's Chinatown, blending Chinese noodle techniques with Japanese flavors to create shoyu ramen. On busy days, Rairaiken served up to 3,000 bowls, with lines snaking through the streets. This wasn't just a restaurant. It was a cultural phenomenon, turning ramen from a foreign curiosity into a Japanese staple. Picture Asakusa in 1910, a vibrant, chaotic district where merchants, workers, and travelers mingled. Rairaiken's open kitchen was a theater of sizzling char siu, bubbling broths, and chefs tossing noodles with flair. The dish was affordable, filling, and quick, perfect for the urban working class. But ramen's rise wasn't just about taste. It was about timing. Japan was modernizing rapidly, and cities like Tokyo were swelling with workers hungry for cheap, hearty meals. Ramen shops filled that gap, offering a taste of comfort in a changing world. By the Taisho era, ramen stalls, or yatai, were popping up across cities, their lanterns glowing like beacons for hungry souls. Then came the great Kanto earthquake of 1923, a disaster that shook Tokyo and Yokohama to their core. With brick-and-mortar restaurants in ruins, yatai became lifelines. These mobile stalls, often just a cart with a stove and a few stools, served steaming bowls of ramen to survivors and rebuilders. The earthquake didn't just reshape cities, it reshaped ramen culture. Vendors, many of them Chinese immigrants or Japanese locals trained in their techniques, spread ramen across Japan, adapting recipes to local tastes. This was the birth of go-tochi ramen, regional styles that reflected local ingredients and preferences. For example, Sapporo's miso ramen, born in 1955 at Ejino Sanpei, used hearty miso paste to warm Hokkaido's snowy winters, while Hakata's tonkotsu ramen, accidentally created in 1947 when chefs overboiled broth, became Fukuoka's creamy, soulful signature. Here's an intriguing tidbit. Hakata tonkotsu ramen was a happy accident. Chefs at a Fukuoka restaurant overcooked their pork broth, turning it milky white. Instead of tossing it, they tasted it and realized they'd stumbled onto something delicious. By the 1960s, shops like Nandan Kandan turned tonkotsu into a national craze, with lines of up to 1,000 people dubbed Nandan Kandan congestion in newspapers. Talk about a broth worth waiting for. World War II brought challenges that tested ramen's resilience. Japan's 1945 rice harvest was abysmal, and food shortages were rampant. The government banned outdoor vendors to control rationing, but black market yatai thrived, serving stamina food to war-weary citizens. American occupation forces, worried about communism's spread, pushed wheat-based foods like noodles, flooding Japan with imported flour. When restrictions on vending loosened in 1950, ramen shops exploded in number. These weren't just places to eat. They were symbols of recovery, offering warmth and nourishment to a nation rebuilding from ashes. By the 1950s, ramen was a staple for salarymen, students, and families, its affordability and heartiness making it a post-war hero. Let's pause to imagine a 1950s ramen yatai, a lone vendor under a lantern-lit cart, steam rising from a bubbling pot, customers perched on stools, slurping noodles in the cool night air. These stalls weren't just about food. They were social hubs where stories were shared, laughter echoed, and communities healed. Ramen's rise mirrored Japan's own, from devastation to resilience. And then came a revolution that changed everything: instant ramen. In 1958, Momofuku Ando, a Taiwanese-Japanese entrepreneur, invented instant noodles after seeing post-war families struggle for meals. His Nissin chicken ramen, followed by cup noodles in 1971, made ramen a global phenomenon, affordable and accessible to all. Fun fact: cup noodles were inspired by Ando watching American executives reuse styrofoam cups for ramen. Talk about a light bulb moment. By the 1980s, ramen shops were no longer just food stalls. They were cultural institutions. The ramen boom of the late 20th century saw chefs become celebrities, their shops pilgrimage sites for fans. People waited hours in ramen gyretsu, eager to taste unique creations by chefs like Minoru Sano or Shigemi Kawahara. This was when ramen shed its working-class roots and became trendy, embraced by the Shinjin Rui, Japan's affluent urban youth with no memory of wartime hardship. Shops began experimenting with bold flavors, like Nagoya's spicy Taiwan mazesoba or Kyoto's rich chicken-based broth, reflecting Japan's growing confidence and creativity. The 1985 film Tampopo, a ramen western, captured this zeitgeist, celebrating the quest for the perfect bowl with humor and heart. Here's a quirky fact. In 2005, Japanese astronaut Soichi Noguchi ate ramen in space. Nissin developed Space Ram, a vacuum-packed, viscous broth ramen with bite-sized noodle bundles to avoid floating crumbs in zero gravity. If that's not proof of ramen's cultural reach, what is? The 1990s brought another milestone. The Shin Yokohama Ramen Museum opened in 1994, a love letter to ramen's history. This museum, with its recreated 1958 Tokyo streetscape, showcases regional styles and honors pioneers like Rairaiken. It's a testament to ramen's transformation from immigrant fare to national pride. Today, Japan boasts over 24,000 ramen shops, with 5,000 in Tokyo alone. Some, like Tsuda in Tokyo's Sugamo district, have even earned Michelin stars, elevating ramen to fine dining. Ramen shops also reflect Japan's cultural values. Their design, small counters, partitions for privacy, and open kitchens embodies the nation's work ethic and respect for solitude. Chefs dedicate years to perfecting their tear, broth, and noodles, often memorizing regulars' preferences to personalize each bowl. Eating ramen is a ritual. You slurp quickly to savor the heat, a nod to the dish's fleeting perfection. This dedication to craft mirrors Japan's broader ethos of mastery and mindfulness. But ramen shops aren't stuck in tradition. They evolve with society. The Ramen Girls Festival in Tokyo's Nakano district, launched in 2018, celebrates women's growing presence in a male-dominated industry, offering smaller portions and veggie-heavy options. Halal and vegan ramen shops like Mizilu in Jimbosho or Tea's Tantan in Tokyo Station cater to diverse diets, reflecting Japan's globalization. These innovations show ramen's adaptability, blending tradition with modern tastes. Ramen's global journey is just as remarkable. From London's Shoryu Ramen to New York's Even Ramen, where Chef Even Orkin uses Dominican sofrito in his tear, ramen shops worldwide fuse local flavors with Japanese techniques. In Oslo, one shop adds pear vinegar and pickled plums, proving ramen's universal appeal. This global spread, fueled by Japanese chefs and inspired locals, mirrors the dish's origins as a Chinese-Japanese fusion. Ramen has become a canvas for creativity, a dish that belongs to the world yet remains deeply Japanese. Let's reflect on why ramen shops matter. They're more than eateries. They're storytellers, preserving the legacy of immigrants, survivors, and innovators. Each bowl carries the weight of history. The Chinese chefs who brought ramen to Yokohama, the yatai vendors who fed a recovering nation, the modern chefs who push boundaries. Ramen shops are where cultures collide, where a simple meal becomes a shared language. Whether you're slurping shoyu ramen in Tokyo or vegan miso in London, you're part of a story that spans centuries and continents. And there you have it, the steaming, soulful saga of ramen shops, from Chinatown stalls to global icons. They've weathered wars, earthquakes, and cultural shifts, yet remain a symbol of comfort and connection. What's your favorite ramen style? Shoyu's tangy depth? Tonkotsu's creamy embrace? Or maybe a local twist from your hometown? Share below, and let's keep the ramen love simmering. Slurp on, and let's explore more stories that make our world deliciously vibrant.